Let's start off with a huge game tomorrow at lunchtime as West Ham host Manchester United live and exclusively on talkSPORT at 12:30 p.m. Crookie, who did you speak to last week from the Manchester United camp?
Well, it's a massive game, this one, isn't it? Because obviously I was at Anfield, Manchester United grinding out that 0-0 draw. How do they follow it up? Because they've not been particularly good at that this season, stringing together back-to-back results. But at Anfield, in the tunnel after that game, I did speak to the United midfielder, Scott McTominay, who, of course, was captain for the afternoon. And I asked him how it felt to lead his side away from home in such a big game.
Yeah, it was obviously an extreme honour for myself. And I've been at this football club since I was 5 years old, so I know exactly the responsibility and the attitude and the character and the desire which comes along with being the captain of this football club to lead by example. And hopefully today that I did my very best to do that. And obviously we've got an amazing captain in Bruno who I learn from a lot, and whenever the honour comes my way, I'm happy to receive it.
Been a few false dawns this season where you think Manchester United have turned a corner and then you seem to take a step backwards. How confident are you this can actually be a turning point and the rest of the season can be a lot brighter?
Time will tell, but use the mentality and the attitude that we showed today and you might not go far wrong.
There you go, Scott McTominay there speaking after Manchester United's 0-0 draw against Liverpool. I think this is a big game, guys, for United. They were dreadful live on talkSPORT at West Ham last season. They've had a few difficult afternoons at London Stadium. West Ham, obviously, on the back of a hammering in the Cup in midweek. But in order for Ten Hag to really convince his critics, of which I think both of you guys are in that number, they need to start showing some consistency, don't they? Because they were great against Chelsea and then got hammered 3-0 by Bournemouth. That was a really good point at Anfield the weekend, but it's no good if they then go and lose to West Ham.
Crookie, I mean, a couple of things. First and foremost, it's the first time I've ever heard McTominay speak, and I just expected him to have a thick Scottish accent, but that threw me. But secondly, I don't think we spoke to you. What did you make of the performance against Liverpool? Because we've had a lot of people come on and say that it was awful and that Manchester United should be winning them games. And we've had some saying it's a good point. What did you make of it?
I thought it was a brilliant point under the circumstances. Lost their 7-0 the season before. They'd just been dumped out the Champions League, and actually their record at Anfield, even back to when Sir Alex Ferguson was there towards the end of his reign, was pretty poor. Liverpool have lost one of their last 50 Premier League home games. So I think to go there and hold them to a 0-0 draw is fantastic. Okay, the performance probably wasn't befitting of the Manchester United of old, but this isn't the Manchester United of old. So you have to find ways sometimes to grind out results. I think they did that. I actually think Liverpool were quite poor and maybe they deserve more criticism on the day than United did.
West Ham seem to be shipping in goals this season. The Fulham game, midweek, 5 against Liverpool, but against Wolves, they're outstanding. Kudus was outstanding, Paqueta, Bowen. If West Ham are on it, I see a West Ham win, Crookie, and that'll put them above Manchester United. So it's an important game for West Ham as well, isn't it?
Thanks for pointing that out, Gabs.
Anytime, mate.
They've got weapons, haven't they? No question about that. I think Kudus has been a brilliant signing, and you do wonder, did Erik Ten Hag sign the wrong Ajax player when he took Anthony instead? Jarrod Bowen is a real fan's favourite, although he tends to get most of his goals away from home. And it was a real touch for West Ham to be able to hold on to Paqueta. So they've certainly got, issues for United to deal with in those forward areas. But again, you just never quite know which West Ham team are going to turn up. And I do think the uncertainty that continues to linger over David Moyes, the fact he's out of contract at the end of the season, I think that is having a negative impact. If you're a player in that dressing room and you're not convinced the manager will be there beyond the end of the season, I think it will affect performances.
All right, we'll move on then, Crookie. Will Wolves host Chelsea in the first Christmas Eve game since the Premier League started back in 1992? Crookie, tell us who you've been speaking to from the Chelsea camp this week.
I think it's the second, actually. I think it's the first in 28 years. But I was at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea beat Sheffield United 2-0. Big win for them. I spoke to Mauricio Pochettino after the match about the importance of his captain, Conor Gallagher.
Really, really pleased because I seen his unbelievable commitment. He's one of the captain. I seen it's a massive impact also on the game. He's a box-to-box player. We are so happy with his performance.
Is he someone who's part of your long-term plans? Because there always seems to be a suggestion that maybe he could be allowed to leave. You want to keep him?
From the day one, I seen in the moment that we are right here, we detect that call Conor. Sorry, Conor can be with us, but that is more a thing about in between the club and the player.
That's Mauricio Pochettino there speaking about Conor Gallagher and his future. I thought it was a fascinating response, and you can't see it obviously on the radio, but Pochettino's face did change a bit when I quizzed him on Conor Gallagher's future, because I think there is a lot of uncertainty about it. They were looking for offers of £50 million in the summer. We know that Tottenham in particular remain keen on Conor Gallagher, and his answer there, that's a matter between player and club, suggests to me that I think if they can get that £50 million, Chelsea may well cash in, because of course Conor Gallagher has come through the academy. That means any money that you generate from selling him is 100% profit on the balance sheet, helps with FFP. But I think Chelsea fans would be really disappointed to see another of their homegrown players be allowed to leave.
Couple of things, Crookie. When you asked him that question, I don't know if you thought he was going to say, yes, we're going to sell him. So that's bizarre. And secondly, when you look at all the money they've spent in that midfield area, I know he's an academy graduate, I understand that. I think he's looked better than all of them. Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo's still yet to get going. I think Conor Gallagher's looked the best.
I agree, and I think he's shown his leadership qualities. He's worn the armband on a number of occasions, and in that Sheffield United game, him and Cole Palmer were the shining lights, really. And Chelsea have sold a lot of their homegrown talent. You look at Mason Mount, obviously going to Manchester United. Doesn't look like that's really worked out for anybody at this moment in time. But they have a history, don't they, of letting players go. Even Tino Livramento was a Chelsea player, and I think he could probably improve their back line at this moment in time. So I can understand why the Chelsea fans, and actually some Chelsea players, from what I'm told, don't really understand the direction that the owners want to go in.
Just doesn't make sense to me. Like you said there, he's wearing the armband. Surely if you're Pochettino, you're saying, you know what, I really fancy this player. He's my captain. He's playing. Reece James is out for the season. Why would you sell? It just doesn't make sense, Crookie, some of the decisions at Chelsea.
No, it almost feels like they're playing Championship Manager a bit.
Yeah.
They've had this massive overhaul of players. They spent £1 billion in 3 transfer windows. And you question whether actually they've been better off keeping some of those players they've allowed to leave and maybe not spending such big money on some of those players that Benty has mentioned. Certainly Mykhailo Mudryk, for one, obviously made a big impact eventually in midweek in that important cup win over Newcastle. But, I mean, he's still a long way justifying his price tag. And at the moment, if you're Arsenal, you probably think you've had a narrow escape there by not signing Mudryk.
Absolutely. And Cricket, just quickly, obviously Spurs taking on Everton. Do you think this is the worst time for Spurs to play Everton, as their good form has been brilliant? I think 4 games, not conceded a goal, 1-4 in a row. Do you think it's the worst time for Spurs to play them?
Well, I'm going to be there alongside Darren Ambrose and Adrian Durham. I'm looking forward to it because it's a real clash of styles, isn't it? Everton, very direct, very aggressive, as you'd expect from Sean Dyche. Tottenham have played this wonderful flowing football under Ange Postecoglou. So it's going to be fascinating to see which style comes out on top. But I do fancy Tottenham to win this game. I think they've only lost 1 of their last 21 Premier League meetings against Everton, which is a tremendous record. I thought they were really good in victory against Newcastle. They backed that up at Forest last week. So I think a corner has been turned. And I actually think Richarlison, who's just started to find a bit of goal-scoring form, might have a big say against his former club.
Absolutely. Crookie, top stuff.
Cheers, Crookie.
Cheers, guys. Happy Christmas.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.